Welcome back to Roadside Education. This is Ed. Today I'm giving a DD on NIO. So first I'm going to be going through technical analysis, a little bit of a long term as well for this one, and then I'm going to go through basically the business model for this company and their operations and a bit of what I can find online. So first things first, I'm going to do a short-term DD using 1 month, 1 day, and 1 hour, and then I'm going to go back to 3 months, 1 day. So 1 month, 1 day, we get to see here that first off the bat, the MACD is very strong. Seems that the trend is actually increasing here based on the MACD, and that there's continuous growth. The stock is above the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA, so it's in a bullish run. It is above both 10 SMA and 30 MA. The 10 SMA is above the 30 MA in this case, which is all amazing news. Two things that just concerns me for this short movement here in the 1 day part is the average directional index is a little bit too high, above 50, so it's not of my liking. I usually prefer them below 45. Above 30 and below 45 is a sweet spot for me. William percent R, it seems to be really overbought, so we'll have to double check that on our side. Looking at the unbalanced volume, it seems that there's around it's sitting right now 2.58, so that's a great increase from around 1.27. Looking into the 5 days, 1 hour period here, we get to look into basically a little bit of the intra movements, and you get to see that it's currently sitting at a bullish MACD where it did receive a bit of a pullback before this run, and it's currently still on a stable increase. You can see that the stock in a million percent R seems to be oversold a little bit in the morning. Of course, well, after a run, any kind of dip would consider it oversold, but it's still in the overbought situation. The average directional index still above 50, so still a bit above my liking. 10 SMA is above the 30 MA, which is amazing. The stock is sitting above the VWAP currently, so it's likely that we can probably see a little bit more movements here in the extended market. Volumes are insane for this stock in the last 2-3 days. Now, going in a little bit towards the moving average, we get to see that the stock is trading way above its moving average. And let's try to go quickly 3 months, 1 day. You get to see that the stock has been oscillating on and off from the moving average, but it has been on a really nice uptrend. I would say that uptrend is probably going all the way back since April. So the March dip really did not really affect it that much. So it looks like it's an amazing trend right now, but we need to look at it a bit further. So looking into here, there's not much trends that we can look at, but we can see that the 50 SMA is above the 200 SMA, which is amazing news. But you can see that the RSI, it's currently sitting at overbought, so that's a little bit of a dangerous situation to be in. Now for supports and resistances. I'm going to use Fibonacci retracements at the start, and I'm going to consider it in the last month. So you get to see the current support is sitting at 1205. Current resistance is sitting at 1381. And below that, 1066 seems to be the next support over. Now, in traditional views, that 1205 to 1212 is actually found here, and we get to see around as well 1108. There's another support here, and I would say as well 1066 seems to have been a support as well for this stock on actually been tested today. So that's quite a jump from earlier on. So next things. We're going to be looking into quickly the 6 months period. First 3 months, and then we're going to look into 6 months. So we're going to do 3 months, 1 day. And we get to see basically almost exact same information that has been relayed before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it per week, which is something I rarely ever do. And you get to see that the stock basically relays almost exact same information that we did in the 1 hour. Let's try to do the 6 months, 1 week, and it seems to be very consistent. Now, in the long term, this is actually a really nice stock to get, and here's why. If you're going into around 6 months, 1 day, you get to see that this stock has been in an uptrend for quite some bit, right? So what I'm trying to look into the stock is whenever it gaps down, if it does, or if it actually gets a pullback, that's where I want to get in. It looks like to be like a very nice stock long term, and here's why. Looking into their website, this is their website here. First things first, of course, this is not kind of stock where you're thinking about, for instance, IDX kind of as an EV plane and all that stuff. It's more of a manufacturer, so that's a bit more compelling for EV car manufacturers. Now I know they had a massive in terms of EPS last year. They blew something around $1.5 billion. But here's why I think this stock is probably good for long term, and I'll go in a sec. So first, they're an EV manufacturer, and it's the EV age. There's a lot of hype going on it, and sooner or later, you might see a lot more electric cars. So looking here into quickly, you get to see that they have already 3 different models, but basically very much mimicking almost a Tesla kind of vibe, which I'm getting here. In terms of different specs and whatnot, I'm not going to go through that, but they also have multiple other services that I found very interesting for this stock. So first things first, you get to see the NIO house, which basically kind of gives you the modern kind of feel of insides and indoors, whether labs, forums, houses, whatever it is. It basically comes in that way. And NIO power, which is basically a little bit solar refueling. You might see them work a little bit into electrical stations and all that stuff. So it looks very interesting here. And then you get to see NIO services. Now, they also have NIO Life. So NIO services here basically resembles a little bit of a bit of different, like basically their kind of dealership services that they offer in terms of maintenance and stuff. So that's all cool. And then they have their NIO Life, which is the less popular, or I believe a little bit less successful kind of brand of lifestyle, which I found very interesting for a company like this. So it seems to be more, they're all more about the modern future instead of just basically a car manufacturer in their way. So there's not a lot to see on this page, but we get to see, I'm not gonna go here. So they have a lot of information on their website. Their website is made really nice. We get to see a little bit of new institutional buy-in yesterday, and it looks like they increased their position somewhat close to 100%. So the previous shares were 143, now 220, almost 223. 222,000. And it's sitting almost at 1.7 million in terms of their value. So it looks like there's actually some investments going on from institutional institutional companies. Let's take a quick look into the last selling. That might be a little bit interesting for me here. So and I don't see any kind of selling happening except back in the 15th. And they did not sell all their shares. They only sold around 2,000 shares. So that's still good news for us. Now, I'm talking good news. I'm not talking about short term. I'm talking about long term, as I already mentioned the short term impact for this stock. Now, in terms of the longer term, you get to see that they have growth of around 179% growth year per year. So that's definitely something I'm interested in terms of the future. But here's a little bit of my concern is their amount of debt they have, as well as their previous previous quarters performances. Now, there is obviously increase in this stock and in this company's growth, and I can see it happening as well in the future. So they've delivered almost 46,000 vehicles of ES and ES8 and ES6. There's a lot of information here. I'm pretty sure you read it already since it's not new news. And yeah, basically that information relays the same. So what is my entry for this stock? Of course, I'm not going to enter it right now because, as I showed you, there's it's overbought at the moment. And hey, even if I miss it and it goes to 16, I would rather buy where there is a bit of a pullback. Now, this company here, let's look into a 5-year. You get to see that it had movements before where it did receive a pullback, and then it gets accumulation. What I'm looking for is an accumulation phase similar to this one, even if it's above, just to make sure that my capital is going to see a good growth for a longer time. So usually I don't do longer term reviews, but this is my opinion. This is a stock that I do want to go in for longer term, since I do see growth in that industry. But my only fear is, with that much expansion, where are they raising that money? And it could be whether either financing banks or the very popular method with either direct offering or public offering. And we've seen that before in some other stocks that have rallied like this and did receive an offering. But this one here, I would say it goes to my longer term stock pile with SHLL, for instance, and other ones that I'm looking for long term. What do you think about this stock? Make sure you mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like. And if you would like, you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is on my page. Thank you and have a wonderful day.